Hi, this is Sylvie Curry from Ramona, California, and I'm listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good Thursday evening and welcome to a special edition of the Barbecue Central Show. Traditionally, a show that talks about the live fire barbecue and grilling industry. If you're not familiar with the show, sorry to hear that. We typically show up on a Tuesday and we talk about the barbecue and grilling industry, kind of like ESPN does with the sports world. Chatting it up with grill manufacturers, sauce and rub makers, everything, any part of the industry of live fire, competitors, and you name it. We traditionally talk about each and every week, but all right. If you're a fan of the show, you've become accustomed to hearing that kind of stuff too. Not sure exactly why that happened, but that's all right. As I was saying, you traditionally hear from anybody who's anybody in the industry. We typically do a Tuesday, but we're doing a special show here tonight, that being Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And we are streaming live to the Kansas City Barbecue Society Facebook page. We're also streaming live to my Barbecue Central Facebook page. So whichever is more convenient, if you're not a fan of mine, but you are a member of KCBS or you're thinking about becoming a member of KCBS and you would rather watch it there, no problem. If you're not going to be able to stay through the entire 30, 45 minutes or whatever it will end up being, don't fear. Right after this show ends, it will immediately be video archived on both the KCBS Facebook page and the Barbecue Central homepage. If you would rather get it in an audio format that you can digest all on your own at your convenience, make sure that you subscribe to the Barbecue Central Show podcast, and then you can get it as early as later this evening or tomorrow morning. But you have to go through whatever your particular device platform is, whether it's iOS, that's Apple, or Android, or what have you. You can sign up for the show or subscribe to the show through any podcast directory that you like. Whatever your preference is, just search the BBQ Central Show. It will show up, hit subscribe, and then you will be alerted when new content is out there. That's the beauty of podcasts and why typically most of the people that consume this show do it through podcasts, because they do it whenever it's most convenient for them. Let me lay out a little bit of format on what's going to be happening here this evening. In just a few minutes, I will be joined by two members of the board, the current KCBS president, that being Candy Weaver, and also the gent that sits on the events and social media committees. He is a board member as well, Richard Fergola from Fergalicious Barbecue. Candy Weaver, obviously, Barbecuer's Delight from a business side of things. They will be joining me up front in just a few minutes, and we'll be talking to them about CEO need. Completely left it out. By the way, folks, tonight we will be announcing the new CEO of Kansas City Barbecue Society, in case you didn't read the run-up as to why we're doing this show. So we'll talk to Candy and Richard first, and then we will conclude with them. I will pull up the brand new CEO of KCBS, and we will talk to said person and go over history, experience, and ultimately we will culminate in visions and opportunities and all that, specifically as it relates to the Kansas City Barbecue Society. So that's what we're doing. I'm not monitoring any chat rolls on either page because Facebook is a pain, and we have an agenda to run here this evening. I do appreciate the fact that KCBS reached out to me in the show and said, hey, we would like you to help break this news on Thursday, which is why we're here this evening instead of a Tuesday or any other night. Wanted to do it on Thursday. I was available, and I said it would be my great pleasure to team up with KCBS. There hasn't been a lot of communication between us over the last handful of years for whatever reason, but if we can mend those bridges, I'm certainly more amenable to that, and we can see how that goes from here. So without further ado, we will race to the hotline and welcome in Richard Fergala and Candy Weaver to the show. All right, you two, thanks for joining me. I know, Richard, you are somewhere in the Mile High State getting ready for barbecue competition, so I appreciate you joining me here this evening. And Candy Weaver joining me too, current president. Candy, let's start with you. First, welcome back to the show. And I'm very happy that you have decided, as KCBS, as a organization, to reach out to the show here and allow me to help break this news. So that's absolutely fantastic. First things first.
Greg,
Yeah, go ahead, please.
thank you so much for having us. I really appreciate it. It's a great opportunity. And the phone works both ways. You can call me anytime.
Oh, Candy, of course, I will. And I thought some of our best conversations as it relates to the show and KCBS when you were president the first go-around a handful of years ago. So we'll see if we can't keep that going here as we move forward. As we talk about CEOs and installations of new one and all that, there's things that happen before that, the whys and the whats. And I would like to start with you specifically and kind of troll through the whys and the whats, and then we'll talk to Richard on the other side.
Sure. As every KCBS member and many non-members know, there's been a lot of changes at KCBS this year, and we've been steadily making progress through website issues and contest issues and cooking issues. And as time goes by, I think we're getting better and better day by day. We're in a position right now where we need to make some pivotal changes and decisions to re-energize the membership. We got bad news today that due to a computer error, our membership is even lower than we thought it was, and we need to bring people back. We're going to have a way to bring people back, to bring energy into KCBS and keep us rolling, to fulfill the KCBS mission to promote barbecue. We're international. We can make barbecue worldwide. How wonderful would that be? The board of directors charged David Qualls, Richard Fergala, and I with the duty of seeking a candidate to lead us into the future. We want to reinvigorate the organization and push barbecue out to the world, because everybody needs to know how wonderful it is, whether you're in your backyard barbecuing or in a competition or just looking for more knowledge and how to make cheap meats or even really good meats taste wonderful. KCBS needs to be the place for you, and we want to be the place for everybody. And with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Richard, if you don't mind, Greg.
No, that's fine. Richard, let's go ahead and talk about the CEO position. First things first, I mean, for years there was no CEO position within KCBS. It was kind of a recent evolution for the organization. So talk to me a little bit about how you see a CEO working within the current KCBS structure and why it's a good thing to have that installed as a position.
Well, to kind of reiterate what Candy said, this is KCBS is a worldwide organization. And before I continue, thank you again for having me on as well.
Absolutely.
I think this is my first time on your show, so I'm pretty excited to get a chance to do this. So, it's a very large organization. We have a big membership, and barbecue is it's in everybody's life some way, somehow. And KCBS wants to be that organization that is your one-stop shop to either educate you or give you that take you on that journey through barbecue. And the CEO, we need to have somebody that can come into this organization and help lead us into the future as far as how that goes. How do we get more people involved? How do we educate? I'm a retired teacher for 21 years, and so for me, the education piece is huge. And getting a person that can come in and lead from that position, that can that has that experience in marketing and strategy development and planning and leadership and budgeting and, media relations and can seek sponsorships and do those kind of things, and has a deep knowledge of the sport of competition of barbecue. I think that's very important for us, so that we can have an administrator that can come in, lead, and we can support that person and give that person all the tools they need to make KCBS successful.
So how do you see this new CEO acting on a day-to-day basis? Is it to lead? Typically you hear a CEO as being the big vision person, the person that steers the ship and leads that vision into the future. And then there's other times when that's a great idea, but whatever the real life ends up being, that CEO is not as effective, I guess, as they were hoping. So are there things put in place in this particular instance where they can lead that charge and steer that ship without perhaps getting bogged down in minutia and so forth?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I think that was our goal this whole time. And the committee that we put together, our goal this whole time was to find a person that could take over that position and do those things, and we could sit back and just support. And I think, there's a lot of different leadership positions, but one of the things that I believe in, just from a personal standpoint, just from my previous profession and now barbecue, is that everything is about relationships, and we had to find a person that we already had a relationship with, that has a relationship with the barbecue community, and then we merge ourselves together and build on this, and give that person the tools to take KCBS down the road in the future in a positive light.
So when you look at the person that you've ultimately hired, obviously there is a relationship there in some form or fashion, but what are the other big ticket items that put you over the top and saying, hey, let's offer a position and see if it goes?
Well, the beauty of this person coming in, this is a person that can interact and collaborate. Like, I was talking about building relationships. In every organization or every profession, there's always key stakeholders, and this person has that ability and already has done these things, building relationships with key stakeholders, and has a strong track record of delivering results when given business objectives. Can take that stuff and run with it. Can market, can promote, can build revenue, can create programs from scratch and make them successful. And I think all of those things combined together, coupled with the personality and the personality traits and how this person deals with other people, it's a no-brainer.
All right. So, Richard, are you going to name this person, or how are we going to do this? Do you need a drum roll or a breaking news clip, or what do you need? I'm here to help with production.
Hey, if you got any cool sound bites, I'll play right off of it.
Well, of course you know I do.
A Barbecue Central Show exclusive news update.
All right, this is Greg Rempe at the breaking news desk here in Cleveland, Ohio, getting ready to throw it to Denver, Colorado, or Colorado in general, to Richard Fergola with breaking news.
I am very excited and very honored to be a part of this. This is one of the reasons why I wanted to be a board member for KCBS, to make some big things happen and make some changes to build barbecue for the future. And I'm very privileged to be given the opportunity to introduce our new CEO of KCBS, somebody that I've worked with in the past and very excited to work with in the future, the new CEO of KCBS, Emily Detweiler.
Wowee! What a get. Now, of course, for the people that know Emily, and we'll talk to her here in just a minute, widely recognized as being an integral portion with Smithfield, whether it be grant programs, committed cook programs, working within the fabric of competition barbecue, and to be able to bring somebody like this on board. So I see what you're saying here from a certain instance where there is some familiarity. She has some relationships already built, but you do have quite a bit of new addition of skill set when you're talking with Emily, who is working with a company the size of Smithfield. If we're talking about global, huge companies, Smithfield is certainly one of those. So that's a huge addition to KCBS, and I'm sure you guys are all very happy about that.
Yes, very, very excited. Very excited that we were able to attract her to our organization, and kudos to our team, David Qualls, Candy Weaver, and myself, putting this all together, and our entire board for coming together and making this happen. Getting Emily is big for our team and our organization. And like I mentioned earlier, I think in order to be a successful team, you got to have all the right people on the bus, and I think we have that now. And so now all we can see now is the future and what it's going to bring. And I can assure you, having been a former Smithfield team myself and working with Emily over the last few years, she's ready to run and gun and make things happen, and we couldn't be more excited about it.
All right, so we are talking with Candy Weaver and Richard Fergola for Delicious Barbecue's Pitmaster, and everybody knows Candy Weaver from Barbecuer's Delight, of course, some of the best pellets out there on the market today. Gang, I really appreciate you joining me here on this side. I'll turn you loose, and then we'll grab up Emily and go from here. So thanks very much for joining me tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You got it. There they are. Richard and Candy. Yes. And we don't want to call that person because that's not who we're looking for, but we are looking for this person who just happens to be the brand. You heard it here about 5-10 seconds ago, the brand new installed CEO of the Kansas City Barbecue Society. And that's Emily Detweiler. Hey, Emily. No, Emily. We'll try again here in just a second. No problem. Oh, wait. Emily, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, there we go. Got to take it off mute. First time doing a show. I rarely do this. So this is Emily Detweiler. Congratulations, the new CEO of the Kansas City Barbecue Society. And the easy leadoff question is, Emily, why? What are you doing? Kid. I kid, of course. So very familiar. I mean, if you have been around the KCBS, whether you're just a fan of the organization or if you are a competitor, of course, people know you as Pork Princess, formerly at Smithfield. So there is that familiarity that Richard was just talking about a couple minutes ago. But I think it's important as we run through these next handful of minutes and kind of reintroduce you to everybody that might only know you from one side. Now we get a well-rounded look at Emily Detweiler. Let's talk a little bit about that overview. Let's talk about business background. Let's talk about experience and maybe the foray into barbecue, and we can kind of build in from there.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Well, it's always fun to be on your show, Greg. So thanks for hosting this and agreeing to be such a critical moment. We love to give you that exclusive barbecue news.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, from my perspective, I think this is a really great opportunity. I know there's a lot of challenges, and I'm up for a good challenge. So I think there's just a ton of runway for growth here, and I think that's part of why I'm excited about it. I've got about 15 years of business background, specifically in brand strategy, marketing, operational programming, development. So when you think about that and really the key needs of KCBS and having a leader who does have that type of experience, I think from that perspective, it just seemed like a natural fit. And then obviously the almost 5 years that I spent specifically in the world of barbecue at Smithfield definitely prepared me for this role specifically. I mean, I've got a lot more to learn in terms of some of the intricacies. And so, I certainly look forward to getting a lot of ideas and feedback from the members across the different kind of areas, I guess. If you think about judges, reps, all of that, the cooks, I probably know the cook side the best. So I have a lot more to really learn from the other avenues, and I look forward to that as well. But I think from an overview standpoint, I really have a strong business and marketing background that I think are going to be really the key that's going to be needed to turn positive growth for KCBS into the future. And
you are based out of Kansas City, correct?
I am based out of Kansas City, so I love Kansas City. I've lived here. This is my third time now, and hopefully we don't ever leave. I've lived here almost 10 years total between the different times, and We call it home. We're definitely very involved in the community here. We love the Chiefs, love the Royals. We are diehard baseball fans. So my son is very into youth sports with baseball, basketball, football. My daughter's gymnastics.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
yeah, we love Kansas City. It's ironic. Before I met my husband, when I first graduated from college, I moved to Kansas City with some girlfriends and, meeting people around town. Somebody offered to take me on a date. And when he came to pick me up, he said, we're going to go to a gas station for dinner tonight. And I was like, really? A gas station? And he said, yeah, it's going to be some of the best barbecue you've ever had. So we go at the time called Oklahoma Joe's. And it really was. The date didn't work out so great in long term, but my love for barbecue kind of began at that time, right after college. So just kind of fun Kansas City memories for me.
Yeah, no doubt about it. We're talking with Emily Detweiler, the new CEO of the Kansas City Barbecue Society. Was it a pretty quick transition? I know that, was it Smithfield was moving offices or something like that, so you didn't want to make a run out to Virginia or wherever they were going to try and station you, and you wanted to make a run of it in Kansas City?
Yeah, like I said, I have learned a ton from my days at Smithfield and have nothing but the best things to say about them. And I really hope that, they continue on this path in barbecue, just as we have in the past. And I was really fortunate that they wanted me to come with them to Virginia. I think that's always a good thing to see the fruits of one's labor, essentially, wanting to come to bear fruition, but it just didn't work for our family. So, after thinking about it long and hard, we made the decision to stay here in the Midwest. We're just Midwest people. My husband's from St. Louis originally. So, our extended family is here. We've made such great friends in the community. So it was a natural fit for us to want to stay in Kansas City. And so when I first received that phone call, I thought, okay, well, this is an organization I know a lot about, and I have some great relationships and ideas on what we can do. So it certainly made it interesting, and we've been able to move things along fairly quickly.
Was it a pretty quick deal put together?
Yes, it definitely was a very quick deal put together. And, I think for me, it was one of those stars aligning moments where it's certainly something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I've been over-investing my time in the last couple of years on my previous role. So when you think about that and think about the fact that, I wasn't planning to move, the stars aligned, like I said. So I couldn't be more delighted. And it's not a bad place to be,
No, I rarely go anywhere across this great country, let alone the world, but I have been to Kansas City, and I thoroughly enjoyed my 3 or 4 days when I was there. Most of it was inside, for a volleyball tournament, but I did get to go out and do some nighttime stuff and get some great barbecue. By the way, talking about great barbecue, because this is a special edition show, some of the top people in the barbecue and grilling industry left messages for you. Here's one. See if you know this guy.
Emily, this is Chris Lilly. I just heard the news, the new CEO of KCBS. I was shocked and surprised, but now I'm excited knowing what you bring to the table. I personally know your passion for barbecue, your professionalism, and attention to detail. Soon, all of KCBS will know. Congrats again, and I'll see you at the Royal.
How about that? A little Chris Lilly.
Very nice.
How about that? Yeah, everybody loves to get a little hype from Chris Lilly. So, and he's unique. I mean, he's not a huge KCBS guy per se. He will compete in a competition here. There a lot of Memphis guy, but really was a fan of the pork when you were over at Smithfield. So to have an ally like that, and he's a good ambassador type, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can't go wrong with Chris Lilly. And actually, he was one of the guys that came to me originally and said, I like what you're doing. I think maybe there would be ways that we could help each other. And it really blossomed from there. And it definitely did become something that was mutually beneficial. And I think that's a perfect example of 2 different parties that are interested in barbecue coming together to make something bigger.
All right, so we have
awesome.
a couple more of these that we'll sprinkle out throughout the time here this evening. Let's talk a little bit about education. You had briefly mentioned it at the top, but let's dig into a little bit of that. What I found most impressive, not 1, but 2 degrees, plus we have a master's degree. I mean, we're pretty smart over there.
Well, Yes, indeed. I studied hard. I still do.
Yeah.
It's just part of who I am. But yes, I went to Drake University in Des Moines, Iowa. So I have a dual degree there in marketing and management. And I loved my time at Drake. So I was very involved, not only in business, I was in the business fraternity there, but I also led one of the social sororities on campus. And I went to school, actually, I picked Drake because in high school, I started studying French horn already. With the French horn professor at Drake. And so when I told him I was thinking about going somewhere else, he said, let me come back to you with a little more scholarship. And that was enough to kind of twist my arm at the time. And I'm so glad I did because the business school there is phenomenal. But I had a great time also in marching band and orchestra and all of those things, and I'm a singer as well. So I think, from a performance standpoint, that really helped me feel comfortable being in front of a crowd and speaking and engaging crowd. And I'm just as comfortable in presenting to one person as I am in front of 1,000. So that's kind of where that came from. And then my master's, like you mentioned, I went to Mizzou, University of Missouri, for my MBA. And again, I did a dual emphasis there as well in management and marketing. And also happened to be a little successful in my mergers and acquisitions, I guess. I met my husband in our corporate finance class, nerds. But we had a great time studying and working out problems and, thinking about net present value and all of that. So I guess it worked out. So we've been married almost 12 years now and have 2 beautiful kids, but we give a lot back to the University of Missouri because it was so impactful to both of us in our lives and in our career. And so we actually both serve on the MBA board. So we've been serving in the College of Business there almost for 10 years. I've been on that board and had a chance even to serve as the chairperson of the board. So love Mizzou, but I guess my Jayhawk friends across the border, I'll still put up with you, but no, I'm kidding. No, just again, that deep Kansas City rivalry between Mizzou and KU is always fun, but definitely had some great experiences and learned a lot about business along the way.
We're talking with Emily Detweiler, the new CEO of the Kansas City Barbecue Society. KCBS.us is the website. Everybody should know that, of course, that's watching here this evening, but you never know. Could have some new people just trolling through and enjoying this great conversation that we're having. Let's talk about career highlights, Emily. I mean, we have the education. We know where you live. We don't know where you live, but we know where you live. You have a great family, a good husband, all that good stuff. But let's talk about some, things that you consider to be good professional career highlights.
Absolutely. So I'll kind of start with some of my previous background. So, like I said, I've got about 15 years of experience total in developing brand strategy. I've done a lot of brand positioning work, marketing plans, operation plans, and I've done that across a variety of national brands. So I've worked on the Hostess snack cake brand. My kids love their donuts. Oh my goodness.
Who doesn't?
I know. Plugra butter, which was really fun. I loved working on butter. That was very fun. I've also worked on board and cheese before my days coming to Smithfield. And even before Smithfield, I also worked for a company called Damon Worldwide. And we worked with retailers all across the U.S. on developing their private brands, store brands, private label, whatever you want to call it. Every retailer cares significantly about that because, quite frankly, they're more profitable to a retailer than even selling national brands. So I helped some of the leading retailers across the country, from Meijer, Winn-Dixie, Bilo, Hy-Vee here locally in the Midwest, Rayleigh's on the West Coast, Price Chopper up north, Tops, just about everybody I have worked with in some form or fashion in developing their private label programs. But then also, many of them I've had the opportunity to work with as well on developing custom account-specific marketing programs for Smithfield. So, but I thought you might want to know a little bit about some of the things that I had done even before I came to Smithfield. So, in my days at Smithfield, I've really been, so barbecue is one of the things that I was responsible for. It's obviously the one I was the most passionate about. Don't tell Eric Amarola. But that's why, like I said, I overinvested my time there, which has paid off at this point. But, a lot of what I was responsible for started in fresh pork and had a great opportunity to work with just a fantastic team there. Really enjoyed my experiences. But part of what we were charged with is to grow the Smithfield brand to become a $1 billion brand. And we did that, which is huge, especially in protein and meat. So, part of my responsibilities there were to develop both long-term, which usually meant, 3 to 5 year strategy, as well as individual annual strategy, working with senior leadership on goals and objectives and how we were going to get there, and building out the marketing plans accordingly to help deliver on that. I led budgeting process, which is not super fun, but definitely something that you have to get good at. And it requires a lot of patience and iterations. And it's really important. So, I've led budgets as small as a couple $100,000 all the way up to multi-million-dollar marketing budgets over my career. And I've learned something from each one of those experiences. And I know how to be nimble with the smallest budget, but also how to be efficient even with larger budgets. So I think that's really important too. I've done everything from leading cross-functional agency partners. So at any one given time, I may have 7 or 8 agencies that I'm managing and trying to get them to play nicely in the sandbox together, which actually I've had the unique opportunity to surround myself with some pretty amazing people. And that has never been an issue. So that's been fun. I've done a lot in terms of actually developing the marketing plans, including all of the media and public relations and social media, experiential marketing, which is where both NASCAR and barbecue came into play. So from an overarching perspective, those are some of the key programs I've been responsible for, as well as some of the retailer-specific programs. And so again, working with great partners there to put together individual plans for some of the retailers where we had strong distribution. So those are some fun programs too.
Yeah, no doubt. Emily Detweiler joining us here. All right, let me give you another star ID here. Hold on one second. See if you can nail
this is Scott Rodriguez of Toot and Stinky Cali Q and BJ's Restaurant. Just want to send a huge congratulations over to Emily on her new position with KCBS, and great job to the KCBS Board of Directors for such a great, well-rounded hire. I look forward to the future.
There he is, Mr. BJ's Brewhouse. I mean, we love that over here. We actually have one just 5-10 minutes up the road, and
nice.
It doesn't get any bigger than that guy over there.
No, and he's got some great culinary things going on in his kitchen, so that's awesome.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, so when we talk about, I don't know if you want to talk about the stuff that you did for barbecue within the barbecue sector with Smithfield, or if we just want to assume that everybody's kind of aware of the grant and the committed cooks and all that stuff, or if you just want to slide right over.
I'll give you just a couple of quick highlights about it, just because I'm not sure everybody knows. I mean, really, again, when I started at Smithfield, I was told, here's your barbecue program, figure it out. And essentially, I loved that challenge because it gave me a chance to really dig in and understand. So I knew that Smithfield had been a sponsor of KCBS and was when I got there, but we hadn't really done much with it. So as I started attending events and learning from different pitmasters and really trying to identify what some of the opportunities were, that's when we started. We already had an established relationship with Tuffy and Mo at the time, and had some great things going on there in support of Walmart. And I had the unique opportunity to bring additional ambassadors on board that have really helped create some great ideas for Smithfield along the way. So, I just can't say enough about some of the help I've gotten and really partnerships with Darren and with Sterling and Chris and Tim and Brad and Justin. I mean, the list goes on.
Yeah.
And actually that led us to the Committed Cooks program because, we kept getting all kinds of people that would reach out and say, I love what you're doing. I want to be a Smithfield pitmaster. And, budgets are not, there's not a money tree outside, contrary to popular belief. So we try to do a lot with a little. And, from that perspective, we had to put together processes and programs. And I bring that up because I think one of the things that I have done a lot of is really try to figure out process and put processes and programs in place to really help streamline and make them more efficient to execute on a day-to-day basis. And that's really what that Committed Cooks program enabled us to do. Likewise, the grant program, that gave us, we were already sponsoring some of the bigger contests like the Royal and the Jack and Memphis in May and the Giant National Barbecue Battle. And we had the great opportunity to partner with Sterling and the Big Papa Smokers team on being presenting sponsors of the Smithfield King of the Smoker, which was amazing. And also putting together the barbecue classic that we used to do and the guinea pig. So, those were great experiences. But again, thinking about how do you do a lot with a little and really drive impact, what we learned is that in order to drive some of the greatest impact, it's to get that money back into cooks' pockets. So that's where the genesis of the grant program came from. And that was really to help inspire contests to pay deeper down into the field, because simply by getting your name called in a check, even if it was for $25 or $50, inspired people to get back out there and cook again. So that's what we were trying to help do. And to date, I want to say we've given 119 grants and almost $400,000. And that's
Huge
just
money.
in the 3 years.
Yeah, that's big money.
Well, yeah. And that's all to cooks. That is literally prize money. So that honestly is one of the things that I really am the most proud of. Obviously built some great relationships and programs along the way. And the new National Barbecue Championship is certainly a cool one. We have tried to do some innovative things and help sponsor classes like Tim and Brad's Hot and Fast classes and, the National Barbecue League, and trying to play, even if it's small, but playing a role in some of those more innovative programs going on in the sport. So, again, I have nothing but great things to say about Smithfield, and I know they're going to continue on and do a great job. So I just am so blessed to have had the opportunities that I've had to develop some of those programs. And I really think that leveraging some of those ideas as thought starters to help fuel the path forward for KCBS is going to just be a fantastic place to start.
All right, so you just mentioned this guy a couple minutes ago, so stand by for this.
Hey, Emily, it's Tuffy. I just found out the news. I'm so excited for you. I've had the privilege of watching you do amazing things the last few years, and looking forward to seeing what you do with the KCBS. Congratulations.
And he's going to be on television in 25 minutes. I mean, look at it.
How
Taking
does he
time.
do it all?
I have no idea. So is Chris Lilly, by the way. So if you're going to be watching barbecue television, you'll see those two guys a little bit later. Let's talk about some favorite things about barbecue. I mean, you're living in a barbecue mecca. I didn't know if you knew that or not. You've been very instrumental in getting some programs into barbecue, but just from a very high level, aside from, seeing some inner workings, talking to some of the most important people that are within the barbecue industry. I mean, what do you like most about barbecue in general?
I would say it's that warm, welcoming spirit of friends and family. And I think that really transcends both competition side and also when we talked a lot about, backyard barbecuers. That is the same spirit that they're trying to emulate, of inviting friends and family over and being proud of what they serve, whether that's, in a one bite challenge to a judge, or if that's to your friends and family in your backyard. And so I think that to me is really what it's all about. And I've always enjoyed the friendly spirit of the competition side of it. I've been to a ton of contests. I've seen some of the rivalries, but what I like the most about that is that before the rivalries begin, there's usually some sort of a shared experience, whether it's, shiggin' and grinning, making breakfast for their, for their different competitors and friends, or if it's the shot or the beer, something, Tuffy walking around and congratulating everyone and shaking hands before it all starts. That to me is one of the most exciting things. And that's something that you don't necessarily see in all sports or all types of competition, where people are in it to be very cutthroat. So I think that to me, if I had to summarize one thing, it would be that warm, friendly spirit of barbecue and just the passion. Everybody is so passionate, and whether it's their belief or their food or their, method of cooking, just that passion and desire to make everybody better. I think that's also really exciting. So it can be a little challenging sometimes if everybody has their own idea and thinks their way is the only way, but that's a different story. So anyway, I think that warm, welcoming spirit is really what I would say I love the most about the sport and the people that are in it.
All right, so let's end it up this way, and I certainly appreciate the time here this evening, Emily. When you are looking at the KCBS, and you've seen it from a couple different angles here as we've moved forward together here over the last handful of years, now in a CEO position, what do you see right off the bat as things that you would want to attack, within those first handful of months or so forth? And then I'm not going to try and pin you down for like the 3 to 5 year goals and let's check back and we'll see if you did it or not. But just some visions or, the big steer of the ship kind of things.
Absolutely. So I'll tell you where I'm going to start. And where I will start is really by diving in and doing a lot of researching on my own, listening. I really think that, to me, the piece that there's still a huge opportunity to continue to drive is engagement. So, engaging all the different constituencies, all the different key players, whether it's the cooks, the judges, the reps, the sponsors, and what they seek out of these relationships with KCBS. I think for me, it's going to be initially better understanding all of those things and really sparking dialogue between all of those different constituents, because I think that's the piece that's been kind of missing. It's been a bit more of, going against one another rather than all trying to figure out how do we make sure that each of the parties are best represented, but can work together to grow the sport and grow KCBS specifically as an organization. So that's what I would say is my immediate opportunity, is to really help drive that engagement. And listening to, like I said, a variety of the different voices involved. So I know that everyone is going to have an opinion. So, I certainly welcome the opportunity to hear from everyone. And we actually are going to set up a separate email inbox to make sure that I can get your thoughts and voices. So I would encourage you to email me at ceo@kcbs.us so that I can get those ideas. So that's one thing. And then, I think for me, the other thing that we'll be doing is really starting to work on trying to strengthen some of the existing programs, and also thinking about potentially new programs, both in the short and long term, that are going to help continue to drive revenue growth. So that's where I see one of the biggest areas of immediate opportunity is from a revenue growth perspective, really trying to make sure that we've got the right programs in place. And some of the programs are good, and they just perhaps have things that need to be optimized and strengthened. And some maybe need to potentially go a different direction, and some we just haven't thought of yet. So that's really, it's a big challenge. I know there's all kinds of things that are on my list. And every day I've learned more, but I'm excited to find out what all of those are. And I guess the other thing I would tell the members is, I'm not going to be able to fix everything immediately. So there will definitely be some type of prioritization that I will need to take into consideration. But my goal is really to build upon the great legacy that, Gary and Carolyn helped create. Because again, I spoke with Carolyn today, and I meant every word that I said in terms of, I feel honored. And I feel like this is a big task to continue on the tradition and the legacy that she has really helped develop. So I'm very excited to be able to work alongside her and learn from her, and to be able to continue to carry the torch into the future so that her legacy can live on in a great way by growing KCBS.
Emily, if you look at what people know of KCBS, I think a lot of times it's easy. It's kind of like the show used to be 5 or 6 years ago. Everybody thought it was a show that only interviewed competitive barbecue cooks and only KCBS competitive barbecue cooks. But when you look at KCBS, there's a vast membership that doesn't compete. They have no interest in competing. They are members of KCBS. And I've always struggled to say, well, here's a reason why you would want to be a KCBS member if you aren't a cook. But I don't really have 5 or 6 things that I can rattle off. Is that an issue, do you think, or do we need to work on that?
That's definitely something that I will be thinking about, because at the end of the day, when you go back and look at the bylaws and you see what the 501c4 is all about, it's about trying to grow the awareness and the spirit of American barbecue. And I know that has obviously expanded internationally, but when you think about that at its core, competition is definitely a key part of that. But there are other parts as well. So, again, I think that's where thinking about some of the opportunities for growth for those people who are interested in perhaps more backyard barbecuing, and coming to KCBS as the place to go, even if it's just to get those connections or listen to people that are very engaged and experts in their field. That's the other thing that I've always talked about, even before exploring this role. When you think about it, a pitmaster who has, even if they've only competed once or twice, or if they're a judge who's only judged a few times, more than likely to anybody they know, they are the barbecue expert. And so that's who their friends and family are going to go to for advice and tips and inspiration to continue smoking and grilling. So when I think about that, I think there's a lot more that we can do. And again, I'm not going to tell you exactly what they are yet, Greg, because quite frankly, I don't know them all yet, right? I haven't written the strategy yet, but I'm definitely going to. So again, really looking forward to all kinds of ideas and thoughts and questions along the way.
All right, so I'm leaving you with this last ID from one of my probably the hottest cook on the barbecue circuit at the moment. Check this out.
Hey, Sterling here, Big Papa. Really excited that Emily Detweiler has accepted the position as CEO of KCBS. I've worked with her for several years, and I have just really unlimited respect for her capabilities, her drive, her work ethic, her creativity, and I think KCBS is in great hands. Congratulations, Emily.
How about that guy?
Thank you very much. Oh my gosh,
Sterling
this was
Paul.
awesome, Greg. I love the.
How about that guy? He shot
awesome.
video. Super production. Love it. All right, so the email address, because I'm sure people will have questions or want to ask certain things that maybe we didn't cover tonight. And this is just an introduction, getting to know Emily, and then we can come back on and we can duke it out a little bit later on. But
That's right.
It's good to see the whole Emily Detweiler instead of just the portion that we had been seeing here for the last handful of years. And that email address is ceo@kcbs.us.
That's right.
All right. So this is the brand new CEO of KCBS, Emily Detweiler. And Emily, I really appreciate the time tonight and look forward to having many chats down the road.
Absolutely. I'll bring my sparring gloves next time.
All right. I'll hold you to that. There she is.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
The CEO of KCBS right there, Emily Detweiler. How about that? I'd gotten no less than 10 or 15 text messages as we introduced Emily as the new CEO for KCBS going, didn't see that one coming. How about that? So for some of you, I think it was leaked out a little bit, but it is Emily. You knew her from Smithfield, and now you'll know her as the CEO of KCBS. So we'll see how that works out. I am fully confident that in that hiring process, few are probably as qualified as Emily, and perhaps more importantly, there was a lot of things that had to go right as far as stars aligning, and I can't imagine that there weren't more than a dozen of other probably huge brands or companies that were probably vying for her employ. And for KCBS to pull this one off is probably a coup in the business world, without a doubt. And now she gets to leverage those experiences and help KCBS grow and try to regain some of that momentum that we had been seeing there a handful of years ago. And I wish her nothing but good luck, and hopefully we will see her regularly on the Barbecue Central show. And we are going to call it an evening. So, if you missed it all, if you're just tuning in now, oh no, I'm not going to tell you anything. You have to go back and watch it. As soon as I hit stop, the video archives on the KCBS homepage for Facebook, and will archive on my Barbecue Central show Facebook page. And as I had said, if you want to get it and listen to it on your own time, subscribe to the Barbecue Central Show podcast. It's on every podcast platform. You can't miss it, but you do have to subscribe to it in order to get it, and that will be available tomorrow along with a new Best Moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less. So double download Friday, everybody. Thanks again to Candy Weaver, current president of the Kansas City Barbecue Society, and Richard Fergola, the committees and social media, sitting on the social media and committees. And, of course, the brand new CEO of KCBS, Emily Detweiler. Also, big thanks to Kansas City Barbecue Society for teaming up with the Barbecue Central show and getting this out to you this evening, doing a very special show here on a Thursday. Thanks to David and everybody else over there. So that's it. Don't forget to join me next Tuesday. I have a huge Barbecue Central show planned, but I won't bore you with that. And until we talk again next time, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Good night now.
Yo!